Back when the world was shut down in 2020 and we all had to stay in our house for ages, I was on a Discord call with my best friend who recommended a show to me. It was around Halloween, and he told me he had a tradition of watching a show that originally aired on Cartoon Network years prior every October. We both love Lord of the Rings, and he told me Elijah Wood voiced the main character. That's literally all he said, so at 1 AM that night, once we'd ended the call, I started watching it. What followed was me discovering one of my favourite pieces of media of all time, never mind just television, and gaining my own Halloween tradition, in the form of Over the Garden Wall.
As autumn colors fall.
Back in 2011, a 9-minute animated short titled Tomb of the Unknown was released in partnership with Cartoon Network's development programme. The short was shown throughout festivals and won the Bruce Corwin Award for Best Animated Short Film at the Santa Barbara International Film Festival. It follows two brothers, Wirt and Greg, alongside a bluebird named Beatrice, attempting to find a book of unknown secrets. However, they then encounter a vegetable man and get immediately sidetracked to try and protect a community of vegetable people from a bunch of animals. This was the origin and basis of a miniseries that Cartoon Network commissioned from creator, writer and director Patrick McHale, despite actually asking him to create a feature. McHale felt that that wasn't the right format for the project and suggested an episodic approach instead. Whilst originally envisioned to be an 18-part series, it was settled as a 10-part miniseries. However, some things needed changing: the name and the plot. Instead of the two brothers attempting to find a mystery book and seemingly are aware of the fantastical world around them, the story was changed to two boys, seemingly from our normal world, getting lost in a forest and during their attempts to get home, discovering strange and creepy things. In regards to the show title, when watching interviews, it's evident that the entire show was filmed and created seemingly under the name Tomb of the Unknown, the same as the original short, but McHale clearly wasn't very happy with it, and eventually he found a name he was: Over the Garden Wall. Over the Garden Wall is the artistic equivalent of wrapping yourself in blankets as an autumnal wind blows in. It's not something you can even explain to someone who hasn't watched it, although I am attempting to do so right now. You have to see it for yourself to know what I'm talking about. I've spent my entire life enjoying creepy things, uncanny valley projects, things that aren't quite right but you can't really put your finger on why. Over the Garden Wall was created for Cartoon Network. It's clearly made for children. But there are some incredibly dark, twisted and uncomfortable pieces of imagery, content and subject matter that means you can watch it over and over and over again and still get those goosebumps when certain lines are spoken or imagery is shown. When you first start watching Over the Garden Wall, you're immediately struck by its feel and vibe that is different to most shows that were coming out at the time and any being made now. It was the era of Adventure Time, which Patrick McHale actually worked on and was the creative director for the first two series, Bravest Warriors and Steven Universe, all shows aimed for children, but with a writing approach that appealed to adults as well. And whilst on the surface, Over the Garden Wall can appear that way, surrealist comedy with characters reacting to it, you're greeted with something more intricate than that, more subtle. And all of that comes down to the production and how the show looks. McHale took huge inspiration from an artistic perspective from pre-20th century art and life while storyboarding and then animating Over the Garden Wall. In the 2017 book that showcases the art and creation of the show produced by Patrick McHale and Sean Egder, McHale references inspiration from a board game that was released in 1890 by the McLaughlin brothers, Game of Frog Pond, which, as soon as you know that fact, is evident throughout the episodes, namely episode 6. But most notably is the inspiration from existing fairy tales. The illustrations that accompany The Tinderbox by Hans Christian Andersen, the Cheshire Cat in Alice in Wonderland are the two main referenced, but you can see the influence that historical storytelling in the fairy tale genre from the late 1800s has on McHale. Additionally, the New England environment that the show borrows from is something that, even as a Scottish guy who has never been there, you can still relate to. The show is beautiful. It genuinely feels like it has somehow fallen through time from the Industrial Revolution and landed in our laps in the digital age. The line work is heavy when it needs to be, and light when it needs to be. The use of depth is stunning, and the overall design of the unique characters create moments in your mind that last forever. And when you pair that with how the show sounds, I love that quote that you just saw there from Elijah Wood because it perfectly describes how I feel about the way the show sounds when I didn't have the words to do it myself. In a 2014 interview, McHale explains that all the music of the show was inspired by classic American opera singing. It's not a musical per se, but throughout basically every episode there is elements of music. To relate it closer to home, it feels like classic Victorian music hall entertainment, and that scratches a niche that is innately in me and many others. My favourite episode of the entire show, out with the two-part finale, is episode 4, Songs of the Dark Lantern. Greg and Wirt end up in a creepy old tavern to ask directions and end up being sang to by an eclectic cast of characters within. It's the funniest episode to me.
Just lost. See, we're trying to get to...
I'm the highwayman.
Okay, good to know.
But the music is genuinely breathtakingly accurate to the time that they are attempting to imitate. From the tone of the voice, to the accents, to the instruments used, to the melodies, it just feels perfect.
You need work, for goodness sake. Hi, dee diddly dum today. What a merry time we'll have upon your wedding day.
What?
To me, Over the Garden Wall is primarily about loss, death, love, and human connections. Throughout every single episode, you can immediately see those connections to family ties, absence, guilt, desire, ambition, and general emotions that link ourselves to others. But once you watch more and more, or dive more into the fandom online, there are so many little references you'll have missed to the overarching tone of departure. Pottsfield is a reference to the fact that poor people would be laid to rest in a potter's field. The 2 pennies the boys need to ride the ferry can be directly linked to the river Styx and paying the ferryman to cross over. Greg's rock facts, rock, can be tied to Native American beliefs that rocks watch over us with the spirits of our ancestors. The North Wind is often a reference to death or a symbol of the end times within historical literature. There are so many connecting visual and story points to the afterlife. And that doesn't even take into account the very basis of the plot, that the boys are lost in a forest they have no knowledge of, with fantastical characters that shouldn't exist and they have no way home. A potential embodiment and metaphor regarding limbo. Listen, some people don't like that type of stuff, especially when it comes to content mainly aimed at children, but as someone who finds that stuff not only fascinating, but strangely comforting, it is the perfect show for me to relax with and get that warm feeling I mentioned at the start of the video. And above all of that is the Beast. The Beast is the main antagonist of the show and is the imminent danger looming over all the characters within the unknown. Constantly remaining in the shadow, only being shown in 4 episodes of the runtime, which is less than half the show, the voice acting alone makes the creature stand out above all.
Yes, yes, all hope will soon be lost. We're lucky the boy had the pluck to best you. Your play could have cost us both.
We never find out anything about it. We don't know where it came from, why it does what it does, out with its desire for the lamp to stay lit, or how long it has been taking people away. The one single shot we get of the Beast in light is probably the scariest part of the show, especially considering you only see it for half a second, but it's the looming nature of the character that really gets me. There's so many theories as to what the Beast is: the devil, the Grim Reaper, the embodiment of evil, fear, death. It's debated constantly. My thoughts? I think the Beast is the personification of the show itself, the fear of the unknown. As I write this script, I realise I've not actually told you the plot in detail, / told you what happens episode to episode, or told you how it ends. It wasn't a deliberate choice for me, but I'm actually glad I haven't. Please go and experience this show for the first time yourself. I have barely touched the finale as it throws up so many questions as to the truth of the show, how much of what we actually saw actually happened, but I think that's by design. Don't do too much reading into it. Go in blind. Autumn is my favourite season, Halloween is my favourite time of year, horror, creepy, spooky content is my favourite type of art, and animation is my favourite form of art. So all combined, Over the Garden Wall is perfect. In 2024, a 3-minute anniversary stop-motion short was produced as a celebration of the show, and it was made with all the love, care and consideration the 10-episode miniseries was given. So after you've watched Over the Garden Wall, give it a watch. During his Hot Ones interview, Elijah Wood mentioned that whenever a fan comes up to him and mentions Over the Garden Wall, he gets a special feeling of pride because it is a project so dear to him and something that he feels connects with people in a way that nothing else he has ever done does. And honestly, I fully agree. I said earlier my friend linked me to watching this show because of our mutual love of Lord of the Rings, and I love Lord of the Rings, and Elijah Wood is a massive part of that. But his work here, and Patrick McHale's work, and everyone's work involved in this, is beyond anything I could have imagined going in 1 AM blind. So what do I think the overall message of Patrick McHale's 2014 Brother Grimm inspired slice of vaudeville magic is? Step into the unknown and don't let the light go out. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you are interested in more reviews of animated films that are a bit strange, I have a Mary and Max review up on the channel. I also have my own short films if you're at all interested in that. Please let me know any other pieces of media that you would like me to review. I will happily do so. And yeah, thanks so much for watching. See you next time.